What's up, Summoners, and welcome back to another ProGuides Wild Rift video. My name is Kirks, and for today we're going to take a look at the newest patch 2.4a and listen to some of the possible consequences those changes could lead to. Are you interested in what a challenger player thinks about those nodes? Then make sure to stick around and listen in. For the beginning, we have something very special for you, at least for the eyes. The new Darkstar, or rather Old Darkstar series, gets new skins. We have Darkstar Kha'Zix and Darkstar Varus coming in. Those skins are absolutely beautiful, so if you're into that theme, just buy them already. It's always worth it. Also, speaking of worth it, with the newest event coming to a conclusion, it's time for another event. This time, it's about finding a fuzzy flock of friends. Fulfill fun and fabulous feats to fly with the fluff. So join the fluff event on the 17th of August. Who knows what it has in store for you? But that's already it for the thematic and event changes. Now let's go to the champion changes. First on this list, we have Akshan, the Rogue Sentinel. Base damage goes up, base mana goes up again, base mana regen goes also up, and the bonus attack speed also is increased. Well, and there's more coming. His passive is increased as well in terms of movement speed, the Avenger rank is reduced in mana cost, and the Comeuppance is reduced in cooldown. Even better now, it can execute minions, which used to be quite of a pain to deal with because somebody could just hide behind minions and then your ultimate would be kinda useless. Overall, this is a quite nice buff, however, time will tell if it will be enough for the champion to become viable. The theme of the champion is kinda broken when you think about reviving your teammates, but are his base stats enough for this? We'll find out throughout the patch. Next up on this list comes a champion who has been underestimated for quite some time. The combination of Flash and Protobelt just was too amazing on her, and her base stats were just too crazy. As a consequence, her base health goes down and her incinerate mana costs go up. It won't be enough to remove Annie from the game, however, it's a welcome change for people who struggled against her. But before we continue with today's video, make sure to check out our Discord in the description below. We are running regular giveaways and community events there, so if you're interested, just drop by. The next change comes to a lovely robot, Blitzcrank. His first ability's damage goes up by 20 throughout the levels. But the question is, what does it change about the champion? Usually if you're a target or victim of the hook, you're just gone and dead anyway, so these 20 damage won't really fix the problem the champion has. Well, he only has the hook. Outside of that, he's just kind of a caster minion who can't attack because he's a melee champion. Next up though is a champion who's quite the broken one in the high elo brackets. Camille is in fact too powerful, and especially in higher level play. However, the changes made to her are probably not the ones you want to see. First up, her third ability's stun duration goes down by 0.25 seconds, and the cooldown of her ultimate goes up by 10 seconds. Is this gonna fix the problem with her? I don't think so. However, it's still a nice and welcome change, but it won't fix what makes her so broken. So she'll probably remain being permabanned in competitive and solo queue games. The next victim of nerf differential is Corki. The daring bombardier is overperforming in any lane he's played, so as a consequence they're reducing his base armor and increasing the cooldown of his W. Those changes itself are not changing too much to its power, but the changes later on when we come to the items are the ones that actually hurt Corki the most. Oh my, we see Dr. Mundo and it's not the rework yet. To bring Dr. Mundo back into the Baron lane, they decided to increase his base health and base mana regen by quite a lot. In addition to that, they're also reducing the infected cleaver health cost and increasing the total regen from his old sadism. It's quite the nice idea, but if we're honest, we want to see the real Dr. Mundo rework rather than just a buffed version of the old one. So where is he? Because we want him. What we also want is taking a small break for our question of the day. Who in your opinion is the strongest mid lane solo queue champion and why? As per usual, let us know in the comments below. After Fizz has been the recipient of quite the quality of life buffs, it's time to reel him back after it's been too much. Especially in the jungle role, he has been dominating through the rift, and it's time to just tune it down a bit. So first they're reducing his passive damage to monsters from 150% to 120%, so his clear will be slightly slower. Even more, the cooldown of his third ability is increased by 0.5 seconds across the rank. But here comes the most important change of them all. His ultimate cooldown goes up by 15 seconds on the first rank, 10 seconds on the second, and 5 seconds on the last rank. Especially for the jungle role, this slows down the pace he can go for ganks and dives overall. Nonetheless, I don't believe that will be the last thing that we've seen from the Fizz, but he'll be significantly weaker than before, so he'll not be a priority pick anymore. Speaking of priority picks, with the buffs to Graves, he has been quite the dominator in the game. To tune him down a bit, they're reducing his base AD scaling from 4.5 to 3.6. It's not the world, but if you think about how Graves' passive works, it hurts him probably more than you might think it does. However, it will probably put him from jungle into lane even harder and make him a solid solo laner. Now we're getting to an interesting change. Jax is subject to quite the big change when it comes to how the champion works. First off, they're decreasing the base bonus attack speed from 20% to 10%, but now comes the real deal. His passive Relentless Assault gets completely reworked. Rather than 1 stack via attacking the enemy, he now gets 2 stacks per attack on an enemy champion or minion. In addition to that, the maximum amount of stacks Relentless Assault can hold goes up from 8 to 10, and the bonus attack speed per Relentless Assault stack also is changed to the number you see below. To give him also a bit more tankiness, he is now taking 25% reduced damage from champions during his defensive stance, also known as Counter-Strike. If you think about this is quite scary. He might now actually find a place in the meta on the Baron lane. To make it even better though, why not fix his first ability? Why is Lee Sin allowed to jump into thin air, whereas Jax cannot even jump to a ward? Also, if you take a look at how Jax actually jumps, it looks quite clumsy, and it's very slow. So maybe we are seeing some changes to that in the future as well. But other than that, this change looks promising. The next change is directed towards the king of the middle lane. Lucian is completely overperforming in multiple lanes and scaling too well as well. So, to tune him down, we see some changes to his base stats as well. First, we see a direct increase to his base attack damage from 58 to 64. However, his base attack damage per level goes down from 4.55 to 2.6.5. That is nearly half. That is crazy in terms of a nerf. More so, his armor per level also goes down from 4.3 to 3.9. To make it even worse for him, his third ability's cooldown is going up by 1 second across the ranks. So if you think about how the champion works in lane, this buff to the early game AD doesn't really change anything. He's supposed to dominate lane early game anyway. However, now if he fails to do so, his scaling will be ridiculously slow and weak. As a consequence, we might see Lucian drop out of priority in favor for other champions. Next up on this list comes the champion who has been memed quite a lot, Master Yi. To tackle his weaknesses, Riot Games decided to buff his base stats and all of his abilities. Base armor goes up from 3.5 to 3.9, the bonus damage to monsters from his first ability goes up by 15 across the ranks, and his bonus damage from Voodoo style also goes up by quite a lot. To make this even scarier, his ultimate cooldown is reduced and the bonus movement speed increased. The ultimate cooldown goes down by 10 seconds up to 15 to 20 seconds, and the movement speed goes up by 10% across the ranks. So if you ever thought about playing Lulu with a Yi, it's your best time to do so, because I can figure this might be actually kinda scary. Other than that, I don't know if it solves the problem of Master Yi in the current meta, but as long as there's like no CC on the enemy team, you're surely a pickable choice. Our beloved little armadillo is also subject to some changes. He has been struggling with the jungle clear and Riot decided to just help him out a little bit. To do so, they're increasing his base stats. However, since he's been too strong in fighting with champions, they're reducing his mana regen per level and the magic resistance per level. However, now we come to the actual base damage buffs. His second ability's bonus damage to monsters is increased from 100% to 150%, which can make quite the difference. Since our little fellow though was rolling around the map too often, when it didn't come to jungle clearing, he also got the nerfs. Like the nerfs to the base stats we just talked about and the nerf to his ultimate ability. It loses 25 damage on its first rank and across the board, and 5 per tick on the first rank of the aftershock of its ultimate ability. It doesn't change how the champion works, but it's definitely a change that he'll feel. But the actual question is, do those jungle clear changes make the difference? Because with his base stats nerfed in terms of mana regen, magic resistance and ult damage, he might have a harder time actually snowballing throughout the game. Another champion that is performing too well in high skill play is Rengar. To tackle this champion, they decided to nerf his battle raw base damage by 30 by the way, on his first rank. More so, they decided to reduce the slow value on his third ability and increase the cooldown of his ultimate, at least for the first 2 ranks. However, from my perspective, this is not what made Rengar the strongest. Yes, the ultimate changes will hurt him in some ways, but his first ability is left untouched. And have you ever seen what happens if a Rengar walks into you with 4 stacks of his passive? He's going to demolish you. So if there was any change to how he worked, I would rather have seen a change to his first ability. Or maybe a more significant ult cooldown increase. Other than that, I don't think this is going to change much about how he dominates in high elo. Next up is not really a buff or nerf, but in reality it's actually a buff because it's a bug fix. Seraphine's beat drop now correctly applies its damage before checking if the target is slowed. This means that Riley's Cryptal Scepter now works with the third ability and it will transform the slow into a root. Quite the need of a bonus move. With that, we're at the end of the champion buffs and nerfs and there's only one left. Soraka. Soraka has been hailed as one of the weakest champions in the game, but those times are over. To tackle her prior weakness, they decided to lower the cooldown of her second ability by 3 seconds on the first rank. Even better though is the fact that if Soraka hits a target with the first ability, the health cost of the second ability get reduced by 70 up to 100% across the levels. In case you don't know what that means, so let's imagine a Soraka hits any enemy with the first ability. She is now able to heal her allies, twice by the way, for the reduced cost in late game. Healing for free? Count me in, that's amazing. We'll maybe even see Soraka in the meta, especially when it comes to enchanters, because she's just too good in dealing with them. Now that we're done with the champion changes, it's time for the gameplay changes. So let's speak about items. First up comes a buff to Bloodthirster. The total cost goes up by 100, but the AD also goes up by 10. That's an insane change, and this item will be insane on champions such as Draven. Next up comes Essence Reaver. Essence Reaver is offering too much for too cheap of a price, so we're carving it down to keep it in line. The total cost goes up by 150 gold and the ability haste goes down by 5. Honestly, I don't think Essence Reaver is such a great item as all people make it out to be. It's just a very convenient item which fills a lot of holes in the game. However, if you take a look at its true passive about the mana regen, it just doesn't fulfill its purpose and you are still very dependent on either blue buff or a tier. This change is also directly targeting Lucian and Corki, which makes their life a bit less wonderful if you think about this. But in the special case of Lucian, this one hurts. What doesn't hurt so much are the changes to Needlessly Large Rod and Rabadon. They're reducing the ability power by 5 and the combined cost to Needlessly Large Rod from an M-Tomb by 100. Consequently, the combined cost to Rabadon go down by 200 and the ability power goes down by 10. This, let's be honest, does nothing. It's quite a nice little change, but that's all there is to it. Nothing else. The last change we're going to talk about comes to Solari Chargeblade. Solari Chargeblade is packing too much of a punch for its price, so the costs are getting increased. Yet again, we keep in mind that Essence Reaver is getting nerfed, Solari Chargeblade is getting nerfed, Corki and Lucian are getting nerfed. So yet again, Corki won't suffer too much, but it will still be noticeable. However, Lucian will suffer brutally from those changes. And it's very safe to say that he'll not be the king of mid lane anymore after this. That's it about the gameplay changes, and now it's time to talk about the free-to-play rotation. Starting August 19 to August 25. You'll be able to play Darius, Fizz, Graves, Jhin, Kai'Sa, Katarina, Leona, Olaf, Renekton and Soraka for free. Please try out Soraka, she'll be insane. From August 26 to the 1st of September, you may play Ahri, Alistar, Aurelion Sol, Camille, Ezreal, Jarvan IV, Lee Sin, Riven, Thresh and Tristana. For this, you should really try out Thresh because he's actually super fun. He isn't the easiest to play, but oh my god, let me tell you this, he is so fun. You can lantern people across the globe, you can hook people from I don't know where, and he's just so unbelievably enjoyable to play. But with that, we're at the end of today's video. Thank you for watching, and if you like the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel to never miss anything Wild Rift again. See you soon.